whatever. But when you do that, just let me know.
Okay.
I got you. That's fine.
I'll probably fill it up next week.
Yeah, that's something we can do. So we're gonna make a timing wrap right now. You guys are gonna sit here and watch me do this. So I can get the phone to sit. And this is an all motor application, so we're not going to be tuning into the boost regions, which this has a map. It has a map on the box, but and it is using that, but it's reading it in KPA. It also has a map on the end. We can actually take that off. So. All right. If you look over here, this is where we're starting to get our So right now I'm just making a base timing map so that I can go street tune the car. This timing's probably going to be overall just a little bit soft, which is fine. We're going to end up adding our timing back after. And you can see that the one that's on here is slightly more aggressive, but most factory maps I pull up I do not like. And this being an anemic low displacement motor, generally, yeah, you want it to come off the revs good, which is this area as you hit the throttle and let the clutch out. But this is a cruising area. You notice here, lower vacuum threshold, the timing actually dips back. That can cause some surging and this and that, and sagginess and the sustained torque for cruising, stuff like that. Anyways, All right. Might look like just a bunch of clicking around, but basically I'm making this base ignition map. All right, and then we'll go through and do our fuel table. We go through and set this up. All right. All right, we got to do a little bit of shaping. Let's see what we're gonna do here. All right, right now I'm flattening out the fuel chart. Basically, we're gonna go tune the car, so I'm gonna do my fuel sweeps and stuff and make all this real data. Right now we're close, but it's not what I want to see. So basically I'm making all these rows flat. Basically what that's causing is the milliseconds to be the same, except for by RPM it's going to increase. So basically with this number being the same all over, makes the map flat, and I can actually see changes a little bit easier. And not only that, it'll develop shape by showing me how much torque it's making as we do this session. Now, map tuning versus math, and it being VE versus volumetric, or I'm sorry, versus it being VE versus it being like in injector millisecond or duty cycle or anything like that, it is going to have a different shape as you go from duty cycle, injector millisecond, volumetric efficiency. It'll end up with a different shape. Some of them looking flatter than others. And yeah, so you're going to see there's a torque hump there. So we'll probably end up, as we're putting load to it, we'll end up having to add or take away fuel in those areas. But this gives us somewhere to start. So that I can go do the load sectoring. So when I'm doing this, I'll be holding RPM and going through the gear, changing load, and basically dialing these in for what it wants. I need to check my quick key real quick, so I know what my enter button is. I know what my up and down button is. Let me see here. Add, erase, up, down. Where's my... set to, add, erase, up, down. Okay. Okay. Alright, so I'm going to smoke a cigarette and then we're going to go tune, but I'll sit here and talk to you guys for a minute. So basically, I went through and made a timing chart for what I think it's going to want. It could completely not want that, straight up. So, what up, buddy? What's up, Nick? So basically, it could not want that. Now, this is based on what I know about these engines, not just the size, the rod to stroke ratio. We're actually talking like compression, but we're talking about like the piston shape, whether it's dished, flat, or domed. We're talking about combustion chamber shape, cams, this, that, the other. So similar as to when you get Fuel Tech or Haul Tech or any of those softwares and hardware that can make a base map, they're going to do something similar. Basically, on a lot of these, they're not looking for anything aggressive, right? It's a base map. But what they're going to do is they're going to give you a chart. And what it's going to do is, depending on what you tell it for camshaft size, small, medium, large, what fuel, compression, low, medium, high, if it's a race engine, you know, stuff like that, what it's going to do is it's going to give you a timing chart. And on that timing chart, it's going to have pretty standard values. Now, again, it's a generic program. And I will say, when you look at other tuners, or I should say other cars, random cars, you'll see random ignition values for cruising and full throttle and this and that. And that's what they've gathered works for that car and makes it reliable and this and that. But as soon as you modify it, that stuff kind of goes out the window. Depending on how the combustion chamber shaped, pistons, displacement, this, that, along with if it has a turbocharger or something, it kind of just starts to like kind of, you know, instead of having like this crazy ignition curve and having like weird values at cruising and full throttle versus like another motor of similar, you know, size, just different make, the charts start to become like each other. You notice the numbers become really close to that because you're like, hey, this had weird numbers in it stock. That's just what they found they ran. What you'll find is when these motors have a intake and exhaust that is restrictive and it's an anemic motor and it helps it, it can take a very wide plateau of timing. It can take you know, this or this, and they run on the higher end because they want the plugs to clean, they want the combustion hot, they want the emissions, all that. We generally run on the back side of the timing on the safer side. Now, all motor you can pretty much tuned to knock limit of the motor, and the good thing is on a lot of these you might get very, very minor knock, and it sounds crazy to say, you're like, oh my god, you're tuning and you have knock in the motor. What I'm saying is, when you have an all motor car, when you're getting that, like, you're advancing timing, you're getting that like half horsepower, 1, 2, 3 horsepower, and you keep going, generally you're gonna, depending on the compression ratio on the motor and the octane, you're gonna get a little bit of knock. And also, I am a fan of running soft timing, but what you might notice is on some of the motors that have like a domed piston, it might make a decent number, but it's like wavy, or it might make like similar power with the bottom end of the timing on the safer side, but just not feel right. And then you add a little and it didn't really pick up power, but it firmed up the power band. You will find that, and that's a combustion flow thing. So for this car, the map, one practice that I follow is when I'm starting with this stuff, what I'll do is I kind of know where the motor goes from low to high load, and that shape isn't really incorporated into it factory. I'll kind of linearize it and make it flat. But another thing I'll do is peak torque isn't till later in the RPM band, and where peak torque is, generally you'll reach your advance and then you'll have to retard it near peak torque and then come back up. I would generally put peak out so far that in the mid-range, I don't really ever hit that number where I have to actually back it down, because usually you'll hit your peak number, back it down a couple degrees, and then you'll come back up after peak torque. Generally at peak torque and before that, and even sometimes a little after that, I'll leave it that couple degrees down all over. It does kind of soften it up a little. You can tell where it likes it, where it doesn't. Some cars might have to kind of have that timing put in there and then sagged out. That's generally like smaller turbo stuff where the turbo's coming in, and if you don't get the flame front in front of itself, it'll extinguish or spark blowout and stuff like that. This is not the right way to do it. The right way to be a dyno, this, that. I do a lot of street tuning. This car is probably never going to go to the dyno. Dude's not going to pay for it. He's paying me a decent amount, but he also has a random standalone thrown in his car and didn't have it really hooked up and didn't have the engine bay set up. And, you know, he's going to need support in the future and this and that. And that's what you're paying for, is a specialty. So although dyno's a really good idea and needed, and it's not a like life or death thing for this car. It's an all motor Miata. We're making it run good, have good throttle response, do what it needs to do so we can drive it, race it, drift it, do all that, enjoy it daily, all that. So let's go ahead and start it up. We'll just see where we end up at. But the map that was on it before just had a bunch of waviness to it, and you'll find that when it's OEM, like, that's fine or whatever, with the OEM bolt-ons, but as soon as you start to do breathing mods and stuff like that, you'll be like, damn, this thing just, you know, when you tune it, the map looks different, especially when you turbo it. It just starts to look real smooth and stuff. Just, it's different. I don't know. So we started it and it shut off, but he had messed with the vacuum lines. I started the startup enrichment, this, that. So point of view shot of me cleaning the lens. So it sounds fine. It's probably a little soft or whatever, but the main thing is we are going to go drive it and get it set up properly so we can get the tip in and all that stuff adjusted. Yeah, we're pretty close on tipping this and that. Now we can go tune it and this and that. Cold startup was fine. 187. Alright, know this is a lot of setup, you guys, but I take pride in my work and love this shit. So I'm gonna smoke one more cigarette. We're gonna go tune. Water temps 164. It was going high because I had the fan off. I forgot about that. But this thing holds like 140. We've been beating on it during the day. It gets whatever. But I'm gonna adjust the trims because I know they're off. Let's shut the fan off to bring it back up. Flip it around, hang on. Alright. Over 172 is 0, so over 170 we don't require any enrichment. And that's where we have it tuned at right now, that when it's getting there we have 14.7 at idle. So now I'm going to flip the fan on and we're going to tune the colder sections. Alright, let's flip the fan on, because it's never going to get that hot anyways. Whoops. Okay. That's small adjustment. we need 4%. So that's going to be 158. All right. God damn it. My fucking finger. Alright. Alright, let's go do the fuel. We need, what do we need to see on here? Really nothing. Okay, well fuck it. Alright. Alright, this was preliminary, sitting around and doing it. Now we're gonna go get the process. I'm gonna come back live. Okay, we're ready to go. We're all set up. You can close the hood.